welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to the channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I do car reviews, 0 to 60s, and other stuff that I find cool and relevant and want to share with you. Today we have a 2024 all-new Mazda CX-90. That means it has the inline 6 turbo, all-wheel drive, and a lot of other goodies. So today we're going to do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, final thoughts, and just the overall walk around to decide, is this potentially worth your time and money? And big shout out to Goode Mazda in Southern Idaho. It's for sale. I'll link it below if anyone's interested. Otherwise, let's dive right in. This is Artesian Red Metallic, which is a phenomenal color in person. And even though it's a new model, there's 8 trim levels that Mazda is producing for the United States market. The base would start at about $40,000. This one, though, is the premium with a 3.3 turbo, but the non-hybrid system, so it starts about $49,000 before destination. The way this one sits, though, it's in the low mid 50s, and it's pretty darn cool. Looks really great in person, and even has functional aero, which you guys know I like. When you choose premium, you get a few extra goodies, such as the 21-inch wheels, the panoramic moonroof that does slide, and you even get the power rear gate, which is a handy feature, or a hands-free feature. Between the 8 trim levels and the 8 colors that you can do, there's 64 configurations. And these are supposed to compete against things like the Ascent and some of those luxury brands like Audis, SUVs, BMWs, things like that. You can have second row captain chairs such as this model, or even an 8-passenger option with the bench in the middle and the back. Gas tank located on the driver's side. It's the same 18.5 gallon tank you're gonna find in the CX-9. But this one gets a little bit better MPG and power. It gets 24 city, 28 highway. So you're looking at just over 500 miles of road trip in between Phillips if you desire and you're conservative. But I think when you're rocking that inline 6 turbo, which is proudly pronounced on the front fender, you might not do quite as well, but you're gonna be having a good time. These are roughly 16.5 feet long. They're 6.5 feet wide, 5.6 feet tall. They have a minimum 8-inch ground clearance with a final drive ratio of 370, and it is rear-wheel drive biased compared to all the other Mazdas that are front-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive systems. The wheelbase is roughly 10 feet, so it's pushed out just about a half foot further than what the CX-9 is, and then they weigh 4,400 to 4,700 pounds, so they're very planted, very stable on the road. With the new 8-speed automatic transmission, a decent torque converter, that higher output engine I'll show you under the hood soon, you're really gonna be having a good time when you're in the CX-90, especially with that rear bias platform. It's gonna perform more against some of those performance SUV. And if you have a tow package, these are rated to tow between 35 and 5,000 pounds, so you can potentially tow CX-90 behind a CX-90. The CX-90 actually even has the kinetic postural control, which is only shared with its Miata sibling. That was added about a year ago on the Miata platform. What that does is it brakes the rear inner wheel, so when you're going around a corner, it helps it to feel even more sporty and flat in the corner. You have a little bit less body roll. Even for being a unibody SUV, you know, there's still a little bit of a roll. Mazdas in general are a little bit more refined, a little bit more sporty than their price tags would suggest and what they can compare against for the higher class. So it's not really any surprise that they're wanting this to have functional aero, technologies that help it feel more stable on the road, and overall give you, the driver, a great experience. We are finally about to hop inside the vehicle, but I want to mention there's a lot of safety features on this. You have all those sensors on the front and rear bumper. You have blind spot monitoring, turn signals, adaptive cruise control, heads-up display. You have a lot of goodies. Usually Mazdas are top safety picks or top safety pick pluses, which is actually quite impressive for the segment that they're in, and this likely will be no exception. But let's mention the wheels. They are Toyo all-season tires. It's a 275 45/21. In person, the wheels look really good, but let's get out of the wind. It's time to hop inside. On the door panel, you have a lot of nice materials in here. A couple two-tone type of accents, good stitching, a handle, which is pretty common on Mazdas, speaker, bottle holder, and some snacks. I do wish it was a little bit bigger pocket, but it is a pretty good job right here. Nothing on the door sill. You have just carpeted mats, rubberized pedals, hood release, memory seats, the extra options on this premium. Remember, this is the 4th of the 8 trim levels. Ventilation, lighting stock, power seats. They're very comfortable. They look really good. And then that giant pano roof up top. Inside the CX-90, we're gonna fire it up with push button start. The wheel is really nice, leather wrapped. There's paddle shifters for the 8-speed on the back. We can go through info and see what it wants to show us. I really like Mazda gauges. I think they're timeless. They don't age very poorly. The horn sounds decent. And the steering wheel is just very comfortable. It's not heated though on this model. The armrest is comfortable. It's right where it needs to be. I like the handle. Mazda interiors are usually very human-centric, so things are designed well and out of sight, like this screen. It doesn't block your view, so you do actually have pretty decent visibility. Sometimes Mazdas have a little bit more short windows, but usually big side mirrors that look good and give you a good view of what's going on. Otherwise, the infotainment screen I think is just fine. Is this one a touch screen? It doesn't appear to be doing anything. We do have the hazards up here. Ventilation, it's all physical buttons and controls, heated seats. I'm assuming the heated wheel and ventilated seats would go right there. Otherwise, it's everything that you want. You have a 12 volt down here, spot for your phone. You can go through the drive modes if you want to go through sport, normal, or off-road. Couple cup holders that you can hide conveniently. The shifter is kind of interesting. You have to pull the button and then go over and down. But when you're in reverse, you have a really nice backup camera, but this one does not have the 360-degree camera, as you could see, would be shown right there. Otherwise, you have all the typical controls right here: electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold, navigation if you have the card inserted, music, home, and the back button with the scrolly dial that controls everything. And honestly, I think it does a pretty good job. I really like it on my own 23 Miata. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, they're wireless, they work really well. And then you have your volume control there, and whatever you want to set up with Star. When you hold volume control, it can turn off the screen. We do have the French doors, if you've seen some of those CX-90 reviews I've done, with 2 USB plugins, and then where you would put the memory card or the card for the navigation. Up top, we just have basic lighting, the control for that really nice, fairly darkly tinted Hannah roof. And then you do have a sunglass holder. I do wish that they did have the mirror so you could keep an eye on grandma in the back seat or the kids, whatever they're doing. And then you have your garage door controls right here. So you have a fair amount of options, but I think it's time to turn off the vehicle, hop in the back seat, and see how we fit in those captain chairs. The back door panel looks very familiar in design. It's a lot like the other Mazdas, especially the CX-90 I reviewed yesterday. You have an extra sunshade. You have that two-tone trim piece for the door card. Looks great. Michaels must have been supplying the stitching because there's a lot of it all throughout the vehicle. It looks good. It's comfortable. The handle is well placed. And then double bottles with a little bit of extra snack storage. This is a better door pocket than the front seat. And then on the door sill, you have a little bit of grip. So if you installed some rails up top, you could probably step up there and get to it. Otherwise, I want to mention there are 3 ways to get into the back seat. You can either drop the seat and slide it forward to hop in that way. You can, of course, go through the middle, or you can open the hatch and climb over the back support. But that's probably your least convenient option. Otherwise, this other handle just helps to recline the seat or drop it forward if you allow it to. And then there is a sliding bar right there. But let's hop inside, let's get comfortable and see how we fit. Sliding bar forward to be kind to those back seat passengers, and then I can recline to compensate. So I have maybe an inch in front of my knees. I could do this drive for a while. It's actually pretty comfortable back here. I have a map pocket, so I can be chauffeured. I can tell them where I want to go while enjoying some good ventilation, some plugins, but no heated seats, which would likely go on the sides right there. Because it's rear drive biased, you have this tunnel probably for the drive shaft, so you lose a little bit of space, but it is what it is. From here, the back seat actually looks pretty good, but we're gonna hop back there and see how we fit. You can see right away you have a plug-in, a couple cup holders, and some tie downs for when the back seat is all the way down. Just like the CX-9, you gotta have some good hip flexion and strength to get up and into the back seat. Then we're gonna do a little Cinderella swirl around and sit behind herself. So where I was comfortable in this second seat captain chair, I have just about an inch of room or so. Cup holders and armrest is well placed. I can get to that if I want to. I have a speaker right by my ear. I can actually see out the window, which is convenient, and still enjoy the pano roof. I probably wouldn't want to be back here for a long time, but this does feel a little bit better than yesterday's CX-9 review. Time to escape though. I'm starting to feel claustrophobic. So we're gonna let the seat fall forward. We're gonna push it out of our way. We're gonna grab the door handle, and then we're gonna escape through this little gap. Thankfully, there is that grip on the door sill. And then it's easy enough to slide it back, recline it, and move on with this review. there's a few ways to access the power liftgate. Of course, a button inside on the dash. You can use the typical button that's below the symbol or the remote. I'm feeling lazy, we're gonna push the remote. Let it do its thing. Back here behind the third seat, you have 15 cubic feet of room, but keep in mind, the hatch is kind of slanted. It's a little bit better than how the CX-9 is, but it's not much more overall cubic capacity. If you drop the third and the second row though, you're up to 74 feet, which just so happens to be about the same as a Subaru Forester or Crosstrek, or about 10 feet less than an Ascent, which is the same overall dimension. Usually Mazdas are a little bit tighter on their cargo capacity and back seats, but they're sporty, they make up for it in other ways. It's easy to drop the seats. You just pull, push, and then you can pull them back. Just like that. You have some LED lighting, some bag clips, a 12 volt, and then your tools right here. You even have a tow strap on this one, and then full-size spare with a Bose subwoofer down there, and your jack on the driver's side. So you can get to where you need to be, and you're gonna be looking good while you're doing it. Otherwise, you can lock it from back here or just lower the power gate, so that's what we're gonna do. And the back passenger side looks very familiar. You get all the same amenities. It's a really nice door panel, very soft touch materials, and looks pretty high end. I think it meets the price tag on this sort of thing. You still get a map pocket, which is nice. So you can have double backseat drivers or mid-seat drivers. And then you have the same controls for moving the captain chair around. And if you're riding shotgun, you again are advertised with the Bose speaker, the nice dual trim pieces, the handle, the Michaels brand stitching, and then you can see again slightly smaller door pocket with a single bottle and some snacks. Nothing on the door sill, but you still do get some power options. Very nice heated leather seat. CX-90 on the cloth floor mat. You don't really have anything protrude with the transmission tunnel, which is nice. Non-locking glove box, which is decently sized, but there's no plugins back here. But I know what you guys are waiting for. Let's come around and see what that inline 6 turbo engine with the mild hybrid system actually looks like. Finally, it's time to pop the hood. And there we are, but we still gotta pop that plastic cover. And there we have it. That's the 3.3 inline 6-cylinder turbo, which is fantastic. Let's start with the periphery. You have all of your reservoirs right up top. You have the air filter, the batteries just tucked away. And then if we come over to the passenger side, you actually have a massive for the class turbo hiding right back there. It's really nice that you can see it. Even the O2 sensor sticking off the front right there. And then 0W20, full synthetic, oil dipstick right there. It's a really good setup. The way that this one sits, where it's the 4th of the 8 trim levels, it has just the base 3.3 turbo that makes a whopping 280 horse at 5,000 RPM, which is where Mazdas are usually rated, and 332 pound-feet of torque. But if you go up 2 trim levels to the Turbo S or higher, you actually get 340 horse and 369 torque. Or if you want the slightly more expensive plug-in hybrid, that is 323 horse and 369 torque. So Mazda is really giving you pretty beefy engines in the CX-90. Let's drop the hood. And this is usually my favorite part. We're gonna teleport inside, take it for a drive, and see how it does on the road. Initial driving impressions today, unfortunately, is going to look a little bit different than it usually would, where we take it a few miles out into the country, we do a thorough 0 to 6 test with the GPS, and we have a lot of fun with it. We see just how it does, how well it brakes, and things of that nature. But today, this one potentially might be on its way out, already been sold. That's just how popular these things are, so we're going to keep it really local, waiting for that potential owner to come by. But if it's still on the website by the time you guys see it, then things must not have worked out and it's still here. Anyways, it honestly feels really smooth. You do feel like you're sitting higher up than a CX-5. Maybe a tiny bit higher up than yesterday's CX-9, although I can't confirm that. It might just be subjective. But the engine sounds good. Having that giant turbo you guys just saw is seriously such a cool feature. The wheel is comfortable. It's a little bit on the thicker side, and I wish it was heated for some of those cold mornings that we have. But I'm sure that's on a higher trim level. These are really smooth, really refined. Armrest comfort again is fantastic. Even on the French doors, it's great. The shifter's right where it needs to be. The drinks are out of the way. And the scrolly dial, honestly, I like it because it's not going to age well and it does take your attention off the road. Not as many things are tied to this car like they are on full touchscreen controlled vehicles. And I have that on my Subaru Outback Wilderness. It's sometimes a tiny bit glitchy, so I do prefer the system. Visibility, you know, is actually pretty good. But those side mirrors, again, do a great job to show you what's going on. Overall, I think it's really comfortable. The seats are not very aggressively bolstered, but they are bolstered well. In that, they're gonna keep you comfortable, but if you go around a corner too fast, you're gonna feel it. If you're driving casually, this is gonna be a really soft, cushy cruiser, in my opinion. The suspension feels really good. Having over 8 inches of ground clearance, weighing about mid 4,000 pound, and a 10-foot wheelbase, that's a formula for a very stable vehicle. Additionally, this thing can do a full circle in 38 feet or a U-turn in about 19. So we're gonna crank the wheel and just show you what that looks like. It's honestly very impressive for the length of this vehicle at 16.5 feet. I think it feels good, and you can hear the turbo want to spool. It's gonna be fun to take this out and give it a proper review, but that's gonna come soon, guys. I hope this did justice for now and gives you at least what you need to know if you're interested in seeing how it compares to the competition. All right, let's get to our final thoughts. Final thoughts of the all-new 2024 CX-90. Is it worth it? Is it worth about 50 grand? Well, compared to a lot of the competition, I would say so. I am really looking forward to taking this on a thorough drive and seeing what it does 0 to 60, as well as the other two powertrain options, because, you know, at some point soon we're gonna be doing that. But today we'll take what we can get. It was a really nice vehicle to explore. You know, new models sometimes have some quirks they have to get figured out, and just little issues that get resolved with recalls. Mazda usually has really good quality control, so hopefully that's not too much the case on this new one. But initial impressions, initial quality, I think this is a fantastic offering. I really like the artesian red metallic. It looks beautiful in the sunlight. Much better than what I'm sure will show up on camera. But what are your thoughts, guys? You need to go drive one, go test drive one. Tell me your thoughts, comment below. And of course, if you like my style, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing just in general. Helps the channel grow and helps us to stay connected. Until next time, guys, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And remember, this one's at Goode Mazda. The link is below.